What is up, God Gamers? In today's video, I'll be taking you guys through some of the best comps to play on 13.13b, at least the first week. And to do that, we're going to be looking at the trending compositions for the last 2 days, Master Plus North America. We're going to be looking at them on Meta TFT here, and I also have some auction comps that I made here on Mobolytic. So because I think that's some tech and he's really underplayed, I'm going to show you guys some of that. I'm going to make a separate video just for auction because there's a lot more I can say about it, but I don't want this video to be too long. And hey, Meta TFT, Mobolytics, I'm using both of your services. If one of you want to make that exclusive, balls in your court. But anyways, okay, so let's just go through it. And I can't wait to talk about the auction comps, but let's talk about the ones that are actually meta. So first up here on the Meta TFT list, this is sorted by highest average placement. So this is Sork Ari. So this is when you're playing vertical Sorks. You're likely just going to place 6 Sorks into transitioning items off of like a Vel'Koz or something like that onto Ari. Your board doesn't necessarily have to look exactly like this, but as you can see, the pick rate is super low. It's because it's very hard to get Ari. So essentially, you just want to have a big front line and 6 Sork moving into this. And by the time you get your Ari online, if you actually get an Ari or you go 9 or something like that, then what's more important is not having 6 Sorks. It's going to be just having a lot of front line. So that's why you see running the Demacia here, have the Tarek there, the Shin there for a lot of front line. So you probably drop out of 6 Sorks eventually, but a good pathway to get there is just go 6 Sorks, and that can be a pretty stable board for Stage 4 and early parts of Stage 5. But again, once you carry Ari, what she needs is front line. She doesn't really need a lot more damage. If you have 4 Sorks and some good items, she's going to be being chilling. And some good items on her are going to be Blue Buff +2, Blue Buff plus Jeweled Gauntlet +1. As you can see on Meta TFT here, it has Sojin. Sojin's fine too. I just think Blue Buff is a little better. But that's fine. Doesn't really matter. Don't overthink it too much. Just mana gen, AP item, +1. And you'll be good to go. Next up here, we have Slayer Gwyn. I have not seen this build very much. So I can't really speak on it or recommend it too much. But essentially, it's just your main carrying Gwyn. Most of the time, I main carry Gwyn. I actually play it in a Challenger comp. I'm playing like the 4 Challenger with Ionia frontline. And then I carry Kaisa. I carry Kaisa, any number of these carries. Kaisa, Callista, Yasuo, Gwyn, any of those. Any of those can be carries. Just depends on what items I have. And some good items for Gwyn. These are fine. The items I have on here, Spark, Jeweled Gauntlet, Gunblade is fine. I'd actually prefer BT over Gunblade if you want to go a healing on him. You don't necessarily have to go healing on him, but I think it is good. Also, Titans is super good. Any type of flat AP is good. So don't stress too much about her items. The reason why I don't think about Gwyn as like a main carry is because she can use so many items. I think about her more as a secondary carry. When I'm running Kaisa, I have a Jeweled Gauntlet, Rageblade, that sort of thing. I'm looking for her items, or looking for my Callista items, or looking for my Yasuo items, right? And then I just give the leftover stuff to Gwyn because she can use so many leftover items, and it's very tanky. So like you could actually just run her as a tank. I don't necessarily recommend this Slayer comp. I haven't really seen this one, but it's listed on here, so cool. Okay, now we have Noxus Darius. So this is actually Darius and Katarina duo carry. You guys have probably seen this comp, and essentially this is you go 6, you put in Noxus, and then you go 7 and slow roll, right? You go 6, you stabilize, right? Go 7, slow roll, and you're just looking for your 3-star Darius, 3-star Katarina, and you just run the 6 Noxus. And then additionally, you can run like a Rogue, or you can run another Juggernaut. And then once you actually get the full build online and you get Scion going and stuff, then your build will be more fleshed out with things like Nasus, Azir, that sort of thing. But the key to playing this build is really just get the 7, get your 6 Noxus in, and get another Juggernaut or a Rogue, depending on what you feel is strongest for you at that time. And you'll be good to go. Something I forgot to mention, I'm not wearing a shirt. Don't worry about that. Stop looking at that. I've been on the beach and I got too used to it. Now I don't want to wear a shirt now. Deal with it. Anyways, all right. Next we have Juggernaut Darius. So this is a very similar build, but the Noxus version seems to be a little bit better. Look, higher pick rate and higher average placement. You see the win right here, but the pick rate is super low. Don't read too much into the stats. I think the Noxus reroll is the superior version, but this version is just essentially the same build, but you're going to be playing more around 4 Juggernaut, 3 Noxus. Now, if you can get the 6 Noxus going, you can get that rolling, then cool, awesome. But you kind of have to hit a bunch of legendaries. So essentially, this build is more about rerolling the Juggernauts and Katarina. You could look for a Garen 3, but I just don't think Garen 3 is really it in this build, because one, you're not going to be building on synergies. Garen requires very specific itemization. But hey, if you got a lot of extra AD items, go ahead, Look for a Garen reroll as well while you're rolling for this board. But this board is more about, with the same idea of the last one, we go 7 and we stabilize on 4 Juggernauts and our 3 Noxus is what we're mainly looking for there. And then just play whatever else you think is strong. Here we have Void Kaisa. This is a vertical Void build. And really, you only want to play Void Kaisa if you have a Void Emblem. Other than that, like, you don't really want to do it. And this is like the easiest build in the game. You just go 8, get your 8 Void in, get your Baron going. Belveth's pretty uncontested, so she's pretty easy to hit as far as legendaries go. You play on 6. You play on the Rift Herald version, the 6 Void, and just play strong units until you can hit the Belveth, right? And your carries in this build are going to be Kaisa, Rek'Sai, and Yasuo. If you can carry Belveth, awesome, but it's just, you got to plan on hitting the Belveth. And again, we have the Void emblem. So yeah, these are going to be your carries right here. And these items look fine. I like the BT Double Titans. You're not going to slow roll for this Rek'Sai. You really want to get your Baron online. So you want to go 8. And then maybe you can hit your Rek'Sai on 8. But the key to this build is more so about getting your Baron in with your Void emblem. And getting your 2-star Kaisa, 2-star Yasuo, and then hitting your Belveth is the most important part of this build. If you can hit the Rek'Sai 3, very cool. These items on Kaisa are fine. I really like Guardbreaker JG. I think Rageblade is a little better here than Sojin. I don't know why I would necessarily recommend Sojin. Sojin's good, especially with the Sojin buffs. But if you're only running 2 Challenger, then I think you get a lot more value on Rageblade. I think it's just a little bit better there. Here's Strategist Azir. This is the most popular build that exists. It's very good. So we have Swain, Talia, Teemo, Garen, Azir, Jarvan, Lux, Nasus. This is a duo carry Azir and Lux build. You just play Shurima as you're going into this, or play Sorks as you go into this. Just play whatever AP item holder, and then you just roll for this board. But yeah, it's going to be easiest probably playing around Sorks. Because you can hold the Swains early, and then you can move the items over. You can play around multicasters as you're getting up here, right? Because you want to hold the Teemo, want to hold the Talia. Swain is good in the multicaster build, so that's a good way to get there. And then just looking at some items over here, yeah, we all know what Azir likes. I think Rageblade, I think his best is probably, it's any combination of like Rageblade, Gunblade +1, I think, is usually his best items, but like I really like Jeweled Gauntlet on him, and I want to get the Magic Shred on someone else if I can. But if you go Shiv on this guy plus a Gunblade or plus a JG, that will be fine. But I think it's just preferable to get the Magic Shred on someone else so that you can run the JG. I really think JG is very powerful on him, especially with the buffs to the item. Additionally, we'll be running Lux as our carry, so just leftover AP items go on the Lux. Whatever you have, that goes on her, and you're good to go. This build is very strong, but it is very contested, so keep that in mind that this build is very contested. I'll talk about a few more here. Here we have Slayer Zed, and this build has been strong for a long time. Shout out to Jirachi, if you guys know Jirachi. She's been playing this build and is very, very, very strong. Playing it the whole set because she only plays reroll 2-cost assassins. That's all she plays. But yeah, here's Zed. And something I didn't mention, I didn't talk about legends very much going through here, or augments. Like, I just play Ezreal. And then I take whatever augments I think are best while I'm playing the game. I know that doesn't really give you much as a guide, but I just play Ezreal because he's the best. And he's my favorite legend already anyways. So, but anyways, here is Zed. And I think you play Zed. So Jirachi forces this build. So Jirachi runs TF. I'm not sure what Jirachi runs on this patch. Maybe still runs TF. I don't think you should force this build. I think this patch is not good for forcing. I think this patch is a lot better. Just play Ezreal. And if you get Zed's items, you hit Zed, then play Zed. Also, you can play this build with Earth Guy, because if you can get Slayer Katarina, it's very strong. So I think Earth Guy, Ezreal, and TF are probably the best on this build. But I won't really talk about Legends much more on other builds. I just wanted to mention that because I know Jirachi was playing TF. But I think I don't think you force this. I think you play it if you get Zed's items. And Zed's items are an IE, Hodge, +1. Titans is really good on him, but also QSS is super good on him. So any combination of that, but it's going to be Infinity Edge, Hodge +1. And that's going to be super good. So you want to go for gloves on Carousel. And then additionally, you'll put your leftover carry items on, you can put them on Kled, you can put them on Gwen, you can put them on Katarina, especially if you get an emblem. And again, that's why Earth Guy is good in this, because getting Slayer emblems is so powerful. There's some really good breakpoints on Slayer. Once you get higher into the verticals, it adds 10%, opposed to 5% on the lower versions of Slayer. So anyways, this is a build where you stabilize on 6, and then you can continue to slow roll if you're close, or just roll it down. Or you can just stabilize on 6 and then slow roll on 7 for the rest of the build is typically how people play this reroll. Even though Zed is a 2 cost, you can definitely still go 7 to roll him. But your best bet is probably just stabilize on 6, slow roll on 6. But, you know, sometimes the better decision is go to 7. Anyways, we'll talk about a couple more. This is Vertical Ionia. Vertical Ionia is very good. And when you go Vertical Ionia, you put the Ionia. This is when you have an Ionia emblem. I don't necessarily recommend just going 6 Ionia straight up out the gate. It is fine, and it is a good top 4 build just to play 6 Ionia without any Ionia emblems. But I only look to play this build when I have an Ionia emblem. And I put the Ionia emblem on Kaisa. I just get 6 Ionia, put on Kaisa, and play strong units. Don't think about it too hard. You know, I'll play a Cassante in here or something like that, right? You know, just fit in some legendaries, Heimerdinger, whatever. When you have an Ionia emblem, this board is showing not having an Ionia emblem. So anyways, and you want to try to get in 4 Challenger if you can with the emblem. I like that. Or just play some random legendaries. Can be feel very good. And cool. So we have Yasuo here. Yasuo is really good with just kind of just tanky items, honestly. Like, I just really like putting, like, you know, stuff like Titans, BT, Edge of Night, RFC, some tech on Yasuo. You got to put him on in the front row, not all the way in the corner, but in the front row, not where he's going to get first aggroed, and he will jump to the corner. It's very frustrating to deal with. And then Kaisa, we already talked about kind of her itemizations. Oh, and this was looking at Challenger and Ionia. But anyways, and then here's just the other variation where you're just indexing more into Challengers. This is playing more vertical Challengers. I don't recommend playing vertical Challengers unless you have an emblem. I only look to do this if I have an emblem, and then you can play 6 or 8 Challenger. They actually buffed it on this patch, can be very nice. And then lastly, we'll talk about these two right here. Oh, they have Freljord Auction on here. They actually have it on here. Oh, cool. That's not how I play the build, but I'm going to show it to you guys. I didn't think they would actually have an Auction build on here. Okay, so here is Shurima Azir. Pretty simple, guys. You play this with the Shurima emblem, and you level up. I'm actually going to show this build in a second. You just play Shurima emblem. You get 7 Shurima in as quick as you can, and you duo carry Azir and Auction. You can also additionally carry Nasus if you get some good frontline items like Titans, BTs, that sort of thing. Lastly, we have Gunnar Tristana, and this is our classic reroll we've been playing on the last patch. We are, you know, you econ, and then you roll it down on 5, and you guys know how to play this build, right? I feel like I don't need to explain this. Anyways, you just look for Tristana 3, Poppy 3, Viego 3, Maokai 3. You only need 3 3-stars. You don't need to hit Viego or anything. You don't have to stay for Viego. You really just want to get Poppy, Maokai, and Tristana. But if you don't hit Tristana and hit Viego, that's fine too. You just need 3 3-stars and Yordle in to get the 4-star Tristana. And then after that, you just push levels. You know, you play Teemo. You push levels. Maybe you can get in 4 Gunner. Maybe you get in 4 Bastion. Maybe you get some legendaries, that sort of thing. So really easy to play. And itemization, you guys should know the itemizations, right? It's Gunblade, Last Whisper +1. And if you can get some Zeeks, that's good to go. Tank items go on Maokai. Leftover tank items go on Poppy. And you're good to go. All right, that is the last I'm going to talk about of the meta TFT comps. Now on to Mobolytics. Again, ball is in your court. Building websites, TFT websites. You know, I could use one of your services exclusively if you'd like. But anyways, all right, here we are. And I'm going to go through some Auction builds, and I'm going to make a separate video just for Auction because there's a lot I have to talk about on stage 3 and that sort of thing. And I don't want this video to be super, super long. I want to keep this easy for you guys. So first up is going to be, this is Freljord Auction, and this looks a little bit different than the build that Mobolytic was showing there. And so this is 2 Freljord. You can play the 3 Freljord if you don't have leftover carry items to put on Aphelios. I like to hold. I will play Ashe, and I'll hold an Aphelios on my bench because once I get a carry item, I'll swap them out. But without a carry item on Aphelios, honestly, you just run Ashe in this build. You can run any random Shuriman here. If you have a Shurima emblem, that is way better because you don't have to play this trash. But this is nice here. And then obviously you don't have to play Auction. You can play not Auction. You don't have to play Cassante if you don't hit him. Just play a 2-star Nasus with no traits. That's fine. But once you get Cassante, you want to swap him in right there. I've even ran this build without even having Shurima. I don't even like. You can run this same build, but you play 4 Deadeye, where you play Urgot, and then you play the little Freljord girl right here, and then you actually have 3 Freljord, and that feels pretty nice too. So don't think you have to have Shurima, but I just wanted to show you the base version of this build. But sometimes I just don't run Shurima, and it's fine. So the core of this build is you run the 2-star auction, and again, I'll talk more about this in the auction video, but you run a 2-star auction in the mid game, and he is the king of stage 3. He is the absolute undisputed GOAT of stage 3. And so you just run auction as your carry, and if you're running Ezreal, it's very likely you're going to get additional carry items, so you never have to think about remaking your auction to put items onto Aphelios, because typically you'd want to just carry Aphelios, right? He's the 4 cost. But if you're playing Ezreal, it's very likely you're going to be able to get double carry items, and so this is why I like this. Like I talked about a second, if you don't have carry items, you can run Ashe here, or you can just pivot to an Aphelios build from this. You don't have to play Auction as your in-game carry. You know, if you don't get additional carry items, you hit a 2-star Aphelios, that's fine too. But if you have an angle to hit a 3-star Auction, 3-star Auction is very powerful. I think it's more powerful than a 2-star Aphelios. So, or it can be if you have good itemization. So essentially, yeah, you just run him. He's the king of stage 3, and then you look for a board that looks something like this. You want to play around Freljord, play around really strong frontline units, and just have 2 Deadeye. And you can run the Shrima. Again, you can run the 4 Deadeye. There's a lot of different variations of the build. Let's talk about itemization for Auction. Best in slot is Runaan's plus Deathblade or IE plus 1. So if you don't have Freljord, then you want to do like Runaan's Deathblade Last Whisper. I think Runaan's Deathblade Titans is actually good. So whenever he is ulting, those count as Titan stacks. And he's Shreeman, so he gets a lot of health. I think, dude, Titans is actually pretty good. I ran Gargantuan, double Titans Runaan's on Auction, and it was nuts. Additionally, if you end up running Titans, you don't run Deathblade, you run IE, because you just stack up AD, and then that AD crits once you stack up your Titans, and it's really, really cool. You can run healing here, Last Whisper, Giant Slayer, but the key is Runaan's hard AD item plus 1, and you're good to go. I love Runaan's on this patch. It's so much fun. And you guys should know how to play Aphelios by now, right? Rageblade, Deathblade or IE plus healing is usually what you want on him, or an additional carry item. That's fine as well. And tank items just go on wherever they make sense. Cool. And you can play temporary units before you hit your legendaries. That's fine. This other version is the Shreeman version. So this is when you get a Shreema emblem and you want to index more in Shreemans, like maybe you get AP items, and so you're not going to be able to run Aphelios, and you don't want to try to do the Ashe thing, and you're hitting a lot of Shreemans, you can play Shreemans right here. So this essentially, you just play 7 Shreema. These are the Shreemans I like to play. You don't have to have Deadeye. If you end up wanting to run Deadeye, like you run Ashe over here, and instead of I just think it's better to run this. But you can run something different. You can also not play these guys, not play the Croc and this one, and play Aatrox with the emblem plus another Shreeman. That's fine as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be this front line, but 7 Shreeman is very powerful, and you just really don't need Deadeye that much. In this version, we do not have Shred in our build naturally, so we'll want to build a Last Whisper for sure, and we're going to be duo carrying Akshan and Azir. Pretty simple, guys. We just buy the yellow units, and then make a big front line and look for a 3-star Akshan. So I'll say one more thing about Akshan here, because I think a lot of you are going to be asking, like, do I slow roll on 7? Do I look for the 3-star? Akshan 2 is just really powerful for a top 4. So you just look for a 2-star Akshan on stage 3 or stage 4, and then you go 8. And if you can hit a 3-star Akshan and you hit your front line, you have a good chance of first placing or top 2ing, whatever. If you don't, you still stand in a good position to top 4, because Akshan carries so hard on stage 3 and stage 4. And then once you get your full front line in and your Azir 2, they can take you all the way to the top 4. They can bridge the gap at the end where Akshan is lacking if you don't get him on 3-star. But if you hit him 3-star, you have a really good shot of getting a first place there. And then this last version here is the 4 Deadeye. So this is if you have a Deadeye emblem. And so this is just like the same board right here, except for we are not playing Shreema. If we can get a Shreema emblem, awesome as well. But this is just more indexing into the 4 Deadeye. So like I talked about before, it is not necessary to have Shreema, but it is really nice, right? It's also not necessary to have Deadeye, like we showed in this build, but it is really nice if you can get it, right? And so this version is we're just not getting Shreema. This is when we have a Deadeye emblem, and we have 3 Freljord, which is very, very, very powerful. We're running our Giga tanks like Sion, Shin, Sejuani, Cassante. We just have such a big front line. And again, you just run Taric here until you hit Cassante. Sometimes I'll play a Taric 2 over a Cassante 1, unless I have items to play Cassante, like a blue buff, or a BT or additional tank items I feel comfortable putting on Cassante. I'll play him here. But if not, just play Taric here, and it feels pretty nice. Anyways, guys, that is it for the video. Don't want this video to be over 20 minutes long or nobody will watch it. But I appreciate you guys, and good luck climbing on the patch. I'm going to have a lot of fun playing today. Appreciate y'all. I love you all, and I love TFT.